Hi there, this is James Valvis, and I'm going to be reading a poem today. This poem, On Lincoln's Poetry and Mine, appeared in Hamilton Stone Review and eventually in my book, How to Say Goodbye, which was published by Aortic Press in 2012. And the poem appears on page 163. The poem is based on a true story in which I went to Washington, D.C. on a business trip with my wife. I was tagging along. It was her business trip. And we went to visit the sites. I've been to D.C. several times. I love D.C. and its museums and its historical places, including the Lincoln Memorial. And we went there, and as a gift, my wife bought me a slim volume of Lincoln's poetry that we got at the Lincoln Memorial. It was a hardcover book, beautifully bound, and I brought it home and I tried to read it, and it just simply wasn't very good. Lincoln wasn't much of a poet, but he was an excellent speechwriter. He was very good at language, and you could see that he at least got some of that skill as a writer from trying, at least attempting to write poetry. And so he appreciated poetry, even if he wasn't an especially good poet. And so I sat down and wrote this poem some years after the fact, and this is what I came up with. Again, it's called On Lincoln's Poetry and Mine. Sometimes on nights when I cannot write, when the words come stilted, when the images fail, when the metaphors and lines don't match, I think of Abraham Lincoln, who fancied himself a poet. I bought a collection of his poetry for $10 years ago when visiting the Lincoln Memorial in D.C., and have since tried to read it 3 times and failed 3 times. This man, who penned the most famous speech in the history of our republic, the Gettysburg Address, could not keep me reading his verses for 5 lines. $10 is a large sum to spend on a slim volume, and yet it sits on my shelf unopened for years. Oh well. I once tried to be a politician, and someday I'll tell you how disastrously I failed at that vocation. And I don't think I could lead a war that cost the lives of thousands of men, month after hideous month, no matter how upstanding the cause, without going mad. So I forgive Lincoln for not being the Walt Whitman of presidents, as I forgive myself for not being all I am not, knowing that while I may not be a tenth of the man Lincoln was, nevertheless, you made it all the way through my poem. This was James Valvis reading his poem on Lincoln's Poetry and Mine. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share this poem, and hit that little bell. You have to hit that bell twice so that you'll get the updates for my uploads as a subscriber. And thank you for listening. And God bless you, and God bless Abraham Lincoln.